Hey there, thanks for cruising with us. Now let's get back to Road Gang Radio, and here's Jimmy Mack live from the Fastport Studios in NOLA.
Hey, by the way, I was talking about long-running segments. As we made the transition from the previous platform to this newfangled technology on the Tube of You and the Book of Face and all points in between, one of the grooviest things that I got a chance to do was take over Education Station. By the way, if that name shows up on any other platform, please let me know. That would be deeply upsetting, by the way. One of the first group of people that people started to call in the aftermath of that to try to get people to come onto their platforms were all the education people that we've actually cultivated relationships, both with the CVTA and, of course, with the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools. Martin Garcia over there has been such a good friend in kind of setting this up. The other good friend that set this up, and I would call one of the original members of the Road Gang, has been a part of this process from the beginning. One of those people who actually has a Road Gang pin and is a friend of the show. Donnie Tulk, who is the coordinator, professional truck driver training over at Tulsa Tech. You can go to tulsatech.edu. If you ever, by the way, if I ever get Dave on the show with me the same time Donnie is on, we actually could have a discussion. Tom Bray, who sends his regrets that he couldn't make it, he says he's kicking himself about it, as a matter of fact, that he's not down here. But if you ever want to have a really just great Road Gang conversation, get Donnie Tulk, Tom Bray, and Dave Nemo on a conversation, and we could take up a good 2-3 hours, and I promise you it would be compelling radio. We get Dean Croak involved with that, asking questions, and we got something going on over here. Donnie, good morning, and welcome to your first official appearance, not only on Education Station, but over on this newfangled platform. How you doing, man?
Man, I am doing great. Good morning, Jimmy. It's so good to be here. And I tell you what, I've been listening in on the new platform, and I don't think you've ever sounded better. You and Dave, Lindsay, sounding fantastic, man. Every day, all the time.
Well, I tell you this, Lindsay's sitting across from me right now, and she's getting set up for her new. She's going to join us at the end of this half hour and jump on in for the making a life section of the show. I'm going to tell her what you just told me because her headset's worn on. He said, we've never sounded better, Lindsay.
That's I agree.
She agrees completely with you, Donnie. She completely agrees with you. I'm pretty pleased as well, too, brother. It's good to have you. I wanted to kind of, we're going to talk about some education stuff here, but you're one of those people like Tom, as I was mentioning earlier, who actually have heard Dave in every incarnation. You got a chance to hear him on the Road Gang. You got a chance to hear him when he made the move to Nashville. You got a chance to hear him when he made the jump over to XM and then during the merger. So you've been along for a long way. Why do you have that connection?
Well, I think it's mainly, golly, back when I was a teenager and riding around in this beautiful country with my dad in a truck, that's who you listen to on the radio. That's how you got information. That's how you got through the night as far as, trucking. And so I kind of grew up listening to Dave and Charlie Douglas. There were others out there, but my dad, my cousins, who are from Baton Rouge, by the way, and they were released on to the old Running Rabbit years ago. You guys probably all know who that is, but they all listened to Dave and Charlie intently, and it was they anticipated, listening to them every night, and I kind of, that was ingrained in me. You're a truck driver, professional truck driver. That's what you did. If you had to truck all night, you're going to be listening to the Road Gang, and it just became Dave made you feel like family, Charlie Douglas made you feel like family. John Parker made you feel like family. And it was just such a great feeling, and really, I'm going to tell you, it'd tick you off sometimes when you hit those spots in the country and it would fade in and out. But, as they went on, and then we got to listen to them, simulcast, I guess is what you would call it, with the station up in Nebraska. I think it was KRV, and I can't remember, but you could pick them up, and that was really great. The only place that really had trouble picking them up was in California. For some reason, it would fade in and out there pretty bad sometimes. But you just kind of say, hey, I'm part of the family. I'm part of the Road Gang family. And you would wait for 11 o'clock Central Time for, Dave or Charlie or John to come on.
I tell you this, Donnie, and you probably, the moment you started talking about this, knew how this was actually going to tie in to what you wanted to talk about today. You can find Donnie over at tulsatech.edu, on the Book of Face at Tulsa Tech, on the Tube of You at Tulsa Tech Center, and then on Instagram at Tulsa Tech. This is a really cool thing, and something I think is a long time due, and of course you're going to take the lead on something like this. Is something that would be like right up your bailiwick. When we asked people what they liked most about the show, when I went around, I called about 20, 30 drivers and just had kind of long, in-depth conversations with each and every one of them. One of the consistent themes was, I feel like there's a gang of people over there. There's a family of people that I know, and I'm part of it. Part of that comes also is that the people who feel that way are already part of what we call lifestyle, part of the lifestyle of trucking. And you guys have done something at Tulsa Tech that I think is so very important. Can you kind of talk about the lifestyle class?
Right. We put together, like you said, we've been kind of teaching a lifestyle class because, these student drivers get out there, they don't know what to expect. They don't know what am I getting into? And, statistically, the stats aren't real good, as far as, new drivers staying in the industry, within that first year, for that first full year. A lot of new drivers drop out. They say, well, this wasn't for me. And a lot of it's got to do with lifestyle and understanding that. So we had put together a lifestyle class here a while back, and we've kind of been improving on it. Now, I got this idea. I had a question from a student not too long ago, and he said, Mr. Tulk, if anybody, you talk about, we're so lucky because we have cell phones nowadays. We have FaceTime and all that. You and I have talked, Jim, about, standing in line waiting to chunk your quarters in the machine at the TA or something like that, to call home at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, because that's when your wife knew you were going to call and to be by the phone. So, we got talking about that, and the student asked me, said, well, how did you get information? How did you know what was going on? You had your radio and stuff like that, but what? Well, then the light bulb went off. We haven't really hit a whole lot on how truck drivers get their information. How do they get their information about the ever-changing regulations? How do they get their information about road conditions, things like that? So we started down this trail, and we put together this lesson plan where basically we start with the history of trucking radio and go through the steps till present times, and follow Dave all the way through the old Road Gang days on WWL, through the XM satellite radio days, and on to now. Because we didn't have cell phones back in the old days. A lot of drivers out there listening know this. We weren't able to, to have FaceTime. We weren't able to pull up a Zoom call or anything like that, on a laptop computer sitting, in a truck stop. You literally had to get your information from the radio. And a lot of that information came from the Road Gang show, from Charlie Douglas, from Dave Nemo. I know Dave has said things about, hey, somebody told me that my dad heard about my birth on your radio. That's true. We used to hear those things, and Dave Nemo kept you informed. And information, that's the thing about the lifestyle class, and what student drivers or entry-level drivers need to understand is the lifestyle and what they're going to be getting into. And the information, where to go, where do I need to find this information? So every one of them walks out, when they start out, they've got a toolbox full of tools as far as information. What do I need to do? Where do I need to find parking spots? What apps do I need to get onto? Where do I need to tune in? And of course, RadioNemo.com is definitely at the top of the list. So we're getting into that because I think if we can, attack, I want to say attack, but if we can make a run at this lifestyle lesson, we can keep more younger drivers, more new drivers, I guess I should say, entry-level drivers in this game. in the industry and not having them jump out within that first year. So that's what we've built around that, because it's very important. We can teach them how to drive a truck. We can teach them how to back, because you make your money by backing up. So we can teach them how to do all that. But what's something that's very important once they get out there on the road? You got to know where you can turn to get your information. For entertainment, things like that. Just like the Tech Talk segment before. I learned so much. I mean, I'm surrounded with diesel tech instructors here, but I learned so much on those Tech Talk segments and that, and it's just great. And these entry-level drivers need to know this stuff. We can't cover everything. We don't have enough time to cover everything. So we're leaning on Radio Nemo to help us with that.
It's interesting, too, because Tom Bray just wrote, it's one thing to be told you're going to be cold, tired, hungry, and lonely, but it's another thing when you are cold, tired, hungry, and lonely. Supporting the new drivers past that phase is big, and a lifestyle class really does talk to that, the idea that it's like, look, we're going to tell you all the things that are going to go wrong. We're going to tell you all the problems that you're going to kind of run into. We can't actually be there for you when those things actually do occur. So it needs to be beyond just that you're going to feel those things. Here's how you deal with them when they in fact happen. And it's interesting, too, because we're now at a place where pre-trip is not just a matter of making sure your engine works, but it's making sure all your lines of communication and information, in fact, work, that you know where they are and how to get to them. One of the things about being a producer at a radio show is I need to be able to look at the people who are actually working the booth and say stuff like, I want a situation where the host can be heard and not anybody else. Push a button or push a series of buttons. I want a situation where the producers can be heard and none of the hosts. Push a button, a series of buttons, and then every single combination after that. Are you suggesting to some degree when it comes to methods of communication that as part of the pre-trip, it's like, where's the app going to be? How are you setting this up? How are you making sure that your GPS never goes off, that your that you always have access to your ELD? I was kind of curious, when you guys get people in the cab of a truck, do you show people, here's the best way to lay out all your stuff so that you're in compliance and at the same time have the information you need to get one step further down the road?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you said that too, because we go through there. All of our instructors basically tell their students, hey, once you get out on the road, if you need me, call me. If you have any questions out there, if you don't have anywhere, if you don't have anywhere else to turn, call me. But we will take and say, here's the apps you need to set up. Here's what you need to be looking. This is, your pre-trip is not done. We used to say, even before all the electronics technology, your pre-trip is not done if you haven't checked your permit book. Do I have all my permits? Am I going to get stopped in Oregon because I don't have my PUC sticker in that? All that is part of that, and that is the technology now that's came into that. Is my ELD working? Is it working properly? Do I have all my apps? Okay, let me look on Google Maps and see where I'm actually going to go and get a bird's eye view of where I'm going to be delivering at, and where all that stuff goes into it. Now, something else, is what do I need to take with me? Our instructors actually in the classroom, they'll bring their big duffel bags in that they used to use in some of their luggage, rolling duffel bags in, and say, look, here's what I did. Get you one of these, because here's what you're going to do. You're going to have enough clothes to last 2 weeks or whatever it is. We go through the whole gamut with that as far as getting down to even washing you're washing your clothes at a truck stop or a laundromat, so all those are tools of the trade that are very important. And like Tom wrote in saying that, I can be told I'm going to be cold, wet, and hungry out there, but until you actually have been cold, wet, and hungry out there and kind of feel all alone, it's a bad feeling. So we want to help them as much as we can before they actually get in that truck, and get away from their trainer's truck, get their own truck with a company, and start traveling across this beautiful country we have. So, it's a deal where we take it very seriously and give them all, like I was saying earlier, all the tools that they need to make them successful. I think that's what one thing is, Jim, that some of these entry-level drivers, they have big thoughts, and then whenever reality hits, they don't know which way to turn.
Everybody's got a plan, Donnie, until somebody punches them in the
defeated.
face, right? Everybody's got that plan, and then somebody punches them right in the face. That's really what goes down. Donnie, we're going to take a quick phone call, by the way. New platform, new reality. Somebody just wants to jump into the conversation. Who do I got, Madison, with a T?
You've got on Mr. Chris. He's in Iowa.
We got Chris in Iowa.
And
Let's bring him on now.
Yeah, he wants to say about how Dave Nemo is the reason he drives.
Go ahead, Chris. Fire away.
Yeah, good morning. How's everybody?
We're doing good. Thank you, sir.
I've said this to Dave, and Jimmy, you've heard it. If I didn't find Dave Nemo and start learning a lot of the stuff that I now know and more, I wouldn't be driving today. So you hit the nail on the head. This lifestyle is not going to work for everybody if you don't have the right tools to do the job.
Go ahead, Donnie.
That's absolutely right, Chris. Man, I'm with you. And Dave Nemo and Charlie Douglas back in the old days, I couldn't have got through a lot of nights and different things without them. But that's what you do. You have to equip, these new drivers with everything they need. Okay, they can go out there, they can shift, they know how to check their mirrors, they know how to go down the road. But what's the other important part? The most important part is, like you said, the lifestyle, because most of them are coming out of, jobs where they're home every night, where they're, in bed, their own bed, they're taking a shower in their own shower, and watching their favorite TV shows, and they get thrown out here and they have somebody tell them, okay, you've got to drive 670 miles all day today. And then you've got to take a shower in a truck stop, try to get you something to eat, get some sleep, and go and do it again the next day. Oh, by the way, the next day you're going to run into a snowstorm. So,
right.
All this, if you give people the tools to do this, well, they're going to feel more successful at doing it, and they're not going to leave the industry. We got to do something to, one thing I feel like is improve the image of our industry. And I think that, ATA with some of their campaigns have done a great job. OIDA has done a great job of doing some of that, but also, equipping these folks, where they don't leave the industry, and that's the big thing. We need to make sure they know what they're getting into.
I wanted to throw something against both of you, Chris, really quickly, because I want to actually hear what you have to say about this. I want to throw something against you both quickly. We'll let Chris answer first, and then we'll let Donnie kind of wrap this part of the segment up. We had earlier on the show, we had Tim and Teddy talking about this, and we talked about kind of seeing somebody before they merge. And I think a lot of what you guys are talking about here, Chris, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is you've got to know at what point you need to start thinking about doing your laundry. You've got to know, based on what you saw in your small fridge, that it's time to go stock back up and where the next place to stock up is that it's always about not so much reacting to what's happening immediately, but getting ready to react to the things that you know are going to happen 1 mile, 10 miles, and 25 miles up the road. Am I making sense, Chris?
Absolutely. It's like doing a pre-trip on, what's going on inside the cab. You have to do a pre-trip on the truck. So you do a pre-trip on yourself. Am I ready to do this? Do I have all the food I need? Do I need to do laundry so I can look good when I get to the shipper or receiver? It's the same thing.
All right, Chris, I got to let you go because I got a little bit of a delay on Donnie, but I can't thank you enough for the call. Appreciate you, brother. Go have the safest of days, and thanks for being a part of Education Station, my friend.
All right, brother. Bye.
Donnie, so here's the question. How do you teach what we're talking about? What is the lesson plan as opposed to just kind of talking about this and throwing this information at people? You have a lifestyle class. How do you teach it?
Well, a lot of it is through life experience, in that we basically, got to have a PowerPoint that goes along through the whole lesson. But a lot of it mainly is you have to use a lot of visual. Like I said, the instructors have their rolling duffel bags that they used to take on the road. You show some videos, some pictures. The instructors will have their own pictures of the old days when they were trucking and what it looked like. We'll pull up pictures of what the truck stops used to look like, things like that, and we go through that with the PowerPoint. It's lecture and it's a visual class, and then a lot of it is just life experience. What can you expect? Because the instructors are the ones who've been out there for 40 years. They know what's going on. I've been out there a long time too, and they can tell you stories by storytelling, basically, and there's really no fluff to it, and it's true and it's honest and it's genuine, and that's what the students appreciate. And some will say, "Oh, hey, okay, now that you told me that, I think I want to go over here and get a local job." So it does no company any good to hire anybody, because it costs a lot of money to hire new drivers and put them through the training. Doesn't do his company any good to hire that driver if they don't know or haven't heard about what the lifestyle is out there, and they go out there and they quit after 2 weeks or a month.
Well, and worse than that,
the company has just lost $8,000 to $10,000.
And worse than that, the industry has lost a driver that would have picked up the slack on a local run, because the driver may have said, "Look, I love running this truck locally. I love meeting all the people. I know how to put myself together on a daily basis. I'm great with people. I'm great with shaking hands on docks and working stuff out." So not only is the company has lost $8,000 to $10,000, a couple of things have happened. First of all, Tulsa Tech takes a hit because it's given somebody a driver who, while they were a great driver, ain't going to work for that company anymore because they haven't been properly informed what they're walking themselves into. A local company has lost a driver because they've been so turned off of driving, they never go back to driving again. And then you're scrambling to figure out how to make the correction. The lifestyle class prevents all of that from happening.
Absolutely. That you cover your bases all the way around. So like you said, we'll have students that realize that this OTR gig is not for me. They'll realize that, I need to be home over here every night, because I do have 2 smaller children and a wife. Even though they say, "Fine, go," I think this would really be better for me. And like you said, you lose a driver out of the industry altogether. So that local companies lost a driver, that could carry some of the load locally. We've lost them. We do a follow up every year with our students to see where are you at. And I think, this lifestyle class has helped our retention rate in the industry. Look at that. I mean, we have close to 90% of our students that are staying in the industry, after that first year. So that's real good, but you have to be willing to work at it and work with those students and be honest with them and tell them, this is the challenges. These are the things you're going to face once you get out there on the road and you're by yourself and you don't have the trainer or your instructor with you to tell you what's around the next corner.
Really quickly, before we let Donnie Tulk of Tulsa Tech, and really close friend of the show, shuffle off his radio coil and get off this newfangled technology platform, our good friend Trucker Boson said, depending on the time of day, you also had Bozo and Bill Mack to keep you going through your shift. And then Tom Bray, our good friend, says, Dave, Fred, Bill, and Dale, a.k.a. Bozo, were the best co-drivers I ever had. Especially Dave, ! Donnie, what's the rest of your day look like, my friend?
Well, I'm actually got some meetings to go to today, some CDL examiner meetings and that. Other than that, going to be enjoying this good old Oklahoma heat. Wished I could be, I wish really bad that I could be down there with you guys today. Had prior commitments. I've got family in town. Our daughter's in from Louisville and 2 grandsons, or I should say Louisville. Just, going to be out here enjoying some of the sunshine today and attending some meetings.
Really quickly, by the way, just kind of want to let you know our good friend Beach Bum says, I've only been out here since 2010, but I was lucky enough to find the whole crew on Sirius XM within my first 6 months of driving and very rarely listen to anything else while I'm on the road. Big thanks to Beach Bum for making that comment. Donnie, I have to tell you really quickly, what is so cool, what is so amazing is that we're going to get another chance to take a run at you getting down here because Lindsay Lawler's new show starts today. We Should Write is going to be at noon in the center, and we're going to hook up something called Nashville to NOLA, where we're going to bring down artists from Nashville to kind of do some songs and music here and vice versa. One of those events we know you will be in attendance for. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on, and I will see you all soon.
And yes, sir. By the way, if you want to find out more about Mr. Donnie Tulk and what those groovy folks over at Tulsa Tech are up to, go to tulsatech.edu. Go to Tulsa Tech on the Book Face. Go to the Tube of You. You'll find them at Tulsa Tech Center. And, of course, on the gram of Insta, it is Tulsa Tech. Donnie Tulk, of course, is the coordinator of the professional truck driver training over at Tulsa Tech and one of the oldest friends I have in doing this job and one of Dave's oldest friends of all time.